Okay, I just wanted to make a short little video segment on how to get the most out of these little, you know what these are, little solder sucker things. Very common thing, but you know, I definitely spent years having a lot of trouble with trying to use them effectively. But you can get them to work perfectly every time. This is not a very good example of a tip because I don't really have a good shape on it right now. The number one trick that you can use, this is really not a good example because it's hard to see, but you cut a little slice. After you use the tip for a while and it starts getting a little bit old, this is a good example right here. You see how it's got a little slice cut out of it? That's so that it fits around the soldering iron. Whenever you get that little right amount of slice, and you know, both these need to be adjusted or whatever, then it goes over it just like that, and then it pulls it right out. And they got that little piece of metal or whatever, you can't really see it, but see a little piece of metal? If you've got like a big old turret or not turret, tag board or some kind of old point-to-point thing, once that solder touches that piece of metal, it'll just pull it all the way out. It doesn't matter how much solder you got on there. Once that little piece of metal touches, it will just pull the whole joint dry like a magic trick. That's the number one thing, is that you got to cut the tip the right shape. And after a little while, it'll mold itself into a more and more perfect little seal. Now this one's kind of gummed up. The other trick is I've got these 2 points right here to do, and these 2 points, and I think I'm pretty much done. You just put that little solder tip. I'm gonna try to get it to where you can see on the video. I'm really doing a bad job of keeping this thing in the right spot. Okay, can you see it? Yes. All right. You on this one, I'm just gonna barely touch it. I'm gonna put a paper clip weight down to heat up the solder. Once it's hot, as soon as I'm putting my sucker on there, I'm gonna pick up away from the board into the plastic tip that's already pre-cut. You know what I'm saying? So that my soldering iron isn't still pushing down on the pad, because it's going to be wet, is going to be still touching the pad through the wetness. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully, if my little piece of metal ends up touching the soldering iron, it'll actually suck the solder through the iron tip, around the tip, like magic. Now there's not enough solder on this little joint to do it, but I'm just going to demonstrate. I'm just going to push down, solder's wet, I'm going to pick up with a little paper clip so that my iron, and that's pretty good suck, that my iron is not touching the board with any kind of force. And that is the trick. The trick is to barely lift up. And look, I got a little bit of solder from the last joint. That little bit of metal that was still touching from the last time, as soon as it's on there and I pick it up and touch it and get it off the board, bam, every single time. And that is how you do it. It took me a long time to figure it out. I've got 4 more right here on these, on this power supply filter. A little bit more right here. I guess you can see. I'm just gonna do it kind of where it's, I don't know. These still have the part in them, of course. And look, this is the other thing I wanted to mention, is that if you got a lot of solder, you got a big area you heat up, it's called a solder iron. And what do you do with an iron? Is You push down with an iron to iron the clothes. It's the same thing with the solder iron. You gotta push with some force. You gotta push it with some force. If it's not melting, you gotta grind it and scrape it. And once it scrapes a little bit, that's whenever it's really gonna heat up quickly. You know what I'm saying? If you're just trying to get the old piece of solder to heat up and you're not really pushing on it hard, you got nothing. Okay, and my damn tool needs a little bit of a touch up. These things will actually work. Damn it. This is really embarrassing because I'm filming this, but you can actually get these things to work for like 100, 200 joints at a time without cleaning them if you get them to work right. Oh my god. Will this one work? Oh, maybe this is the good one. That's just the old trusty one. This is why I was using it. Okay, here we go. One more time. And the button's in the wrong spot. You got to set the cut that you made. You got to set the little thing right where the button is in the perfect spot too. Okay, I got it in the perfect spot. Okay, now watch. Bam! I didn't pick up enough on that one. Oh, this one works good. That other one has thousands of I mean, you know, it still works after thousands of little desolder sucks. So there's no excuse. And those, you know. Okay, that one is not even touching. This one is pretty much dry. Can y'all see that in the video? Yeah, you can. That one is pretty much dry. This one, you know, maybe I'll hit it again. But whenever I go to pull those parts out, I'm just gonna barely, look, I'll do it. I know exactly what's going right back in them, so it doesn't matter. Look, watch, it's just gonna fall right out. Oh, look, there it is. I didn't even touch the other side. Look at that. I just touched one little thing, and the thing just fell right out the board. Same thing on this side. I might have to hit both sides, actually. Yeah, look, I'm just gonna... most of the time, they'll just fall right out. Look at that. Here it is. Fell out the board. So... that is how you, you know, use that little solder tool.